Part 1. The crystal lights overhead fractured into 1,000 dancing motes as I raised my flute of champagne, the bubbles fizzing a gentle counterpoint to the cascade of applause that rolled across Grandview Terrace. After 38 years steering Silver Oak's capital through booms and busts, with every early morning ticker tape and late-night strategy session culminating tonight, my retirement at age 66 should have felt triumphant. Instead, a cold knot clenched in my gut, tightening with every word my division director spoke. John's vision led us out of 5 downturns and countless market avalanches. Without him, we'd still be chained to paper ledgers. I offered a polite nod, though the warmth of the celebration barely grazed me. Across the room, my wife, Elise, glided forward, her hand sliding into mine. At 61, her hair still shimmered silver at the roots, a memento of that spring when she insisted I treat us to a Tuscan villa for our 20th anniversary. Lately, she'd been uncharacteristically solicitous. Espresso at dawn, late-night strolls through the greenhouse planting bulbs for our next chapter, animated whispers about beachfront weekends. Their abrupt attentiveness felt rehearsed, like actors playing parts too well. Our children hovered nearby. Claire, age 39, my daughter in tailored suits and angular ambition, caught Elise's eye and exchanged a barely perceptible nod with her brother, Marcus, age 36. He'd inherited my broad-shouldered frame, but none of my dedication, always looking for the easiest route to a bonus check. The way they exchanged glances told me everything. When the director concluded and the spotlight shifted, I followed the swell of guests to our reserved table. Elise slipped a cream-colored envelope onto the linen cloth, tucking a smile that felt too tight to be genuine. Claire leaned in, voice low. "Dad, congrats." Her tone was neutral, polished. Marcus offered a half-hearted grin. "Big night, huh?" Elise's sapphire eyes glittered in the chandelier's glow as she unsealed the flap. My pulse quickened. Inside, I found divorce decrees, ready for my signature, alongside forms to transfer every asset we'd accumulated over decades. Pension disbursement authorizations bore the bank's seal, each one stamped, non-contestable. Elise thought it would simplify things, Claire intoned, cool sympathy in her voice. "One signature, and you start fresh, no burdens." Marcus chuckled, leaning back. "Your lifetime of work, ours now." Claire slid a confidential-looking folder across the table. "We drew up everything. Property splits, investment allocations, even your offshore trusts." I stared at them, chest tightening, the world narrowing to that envelope and their triumphant grins. My face remained still, hands folded, no tremor in my voice as I inhaled the scent of roses from the centerpiece. Light, sweet, deceptive. I recalled the pin Elise had given me on our 25th anniversary, a Mont Blanc etched with our wedding date. The very instrument I'd used to sign contracts on secret properties and quietly fund accounts no one else knew existed. Reaching into my breast pocket, I produced it like a magician unveiling his final card. I uncapped it with deliberate slowness. The metal whispered against porcelain as I laid it across the table. Eyes locked on mine, my family held their breath. Guests paused mid-toast. The servers halted, champagne bottles half-raised. Then I pressed nib to page, ink bleeding into signatures, one after another. Each stroke a quiet declaration of inevitability. When the last form was complete, I slipped the pen back into my jacket and folded the documents with precision. The tablecloth rustled as I leaned forward, voice steady. "Understood." Claire exhaled, triumphant. Marcus smirked, already counting his expected gains. Elise's lips curved into what she must have thought was a victorious smile. But I saw past it, to the years of planning and acquisitions she never suspected, to the network of safe houses and investment vehicles hidden behind my unassuming suit. Standing, I brushed off my blazer. Crystal prisms twinkled as I reached for my champagne, lifting it in a final salute. "I'll clear out the office tonight," I told them, every word measured. "By dawn, I'll be gone." No forwarding address. Their faces flickered, surprise, confusion, before satisfaction settled back in. They believed they'd won. As I stepped away, footsteps echoing on the marble, the door swung open to the cool night air. Rain-slicked streets beckoned with promise, washed clean under street lamps. Behind me, Grandview Terrace faded into muted chatter and the soft clink of glass. Ahead lay a quiet road, one-eyed charted long ago in secret journals and encrypted files. Tonight, I vanished, not broken, but reborn. Part 2. 3 days later, Elise's phone screen glowed in the dim light of our guest apartment as she thumbed through glossy resort brochures, her lips curved in that practiced half-smile I'd come to recognize. "That would be perfect," she murmured, already tapping to save a beachfront villa under a perpetual sunset. I wasn't there to see it. By dawn on the third day, her device refused to stop vibrating. Our home, our joint accounts, my presence in every system gone. Every transfer I'd set in motion 3 decades ago snapped into place with surgical precision. Elise watched her balance spiral into zero. Claire's incoming call was the next alarm. Then came the panicked ring from our family attorney. "It's happening sooner than projected. Everything's been moved." I'd laid the groundwork for this moment since the day Elise betrayed me at our 25th anniversary. That night, I'd stumbled across clandestine texts between her and Miles Hawthorne, my supposedly trusted financial advisor, detailing not only an illicit romance but a plot to seize everything once my service ended. Confrontation would have been a fool's errand. Instead, I built an exit plan codenamed Checkmate, forging every piece in secret while maintaining my mild-mannered persona at Silver Oaks Capital. In my downtown safe house, a converted loft crammed with 7 distinct identities, I sat before 3 calibrated monitors. The wall clock ticked silently as I watched Elise frantically reset passwords, only to be met with "account unavailable." Marcus dialed my office with trembling urgency, only to learn that John Randall no longer existed in the bank's HR archives. Claire leaned on every legal contact she'd cultivated, but each digital inquiry bounced back. "Access denied, file not found, permission revoked." "This is impossible," Elise snapped at Miles when he arrived, trembling in her marble-floored kitchen. He looked 60-odd, features bloated by Michelin-star lunches and late-night scotches, unshaven, eyes darting. "He's just a traditional banker," she hissed. "I've seen him flinch at risk." Miles swallowed hard as his phone chimed. He studied the alert, shoulders slumping. I've just been flagged for an SEC audit," he confessed, voice small. "Someone's provided evidence of irregularities in my client portfolios." A slow grin spread across my face. Across town, I pressed send on another encrypted channel, this one directed to Marcus's employer, complete with documents outlining a multi-year embezzlement scheme. His gambling debts, the secret withdrawals from company accounts, all cataloged with forensic precision. Within minutes, HR's logo blinked on his inbox, a subject line that read, "Immediate compliance review." But Claire required a special touch. She'd always been the sharper blade in the family, so meticulous she once erred on the side of burying exculpatory material in a legal filing to protect her reputation. I accessed a quarantine server, routing my IP through 7 international nodes, and uploaded sworn affidavits, redacted emails, and timestamped metadata to the State Bar Association's oversight portal. Evidence that Claire had deliberately concealed key documents, enough to trigger disbarment proceedings the moment they were unsealed. Meanwhile, our attorney called again, voice hollow. "I'm trying everything: civil courts, emergency injunctions, but it's like chasing ghosts." Elise slumped against the granite countertop, porcelain teacup shivering in her hand. Her sapphire eyes, once so sharp, were rimmed with disbelief. Marcus stared at his reflection in the stainless steel fridge door, face betraying the same dawning horror. Claire leaned in close, retyping frantic messages, but each returned undeliverable. I observed all of this safely tucked away, concealed by layers of forged passports and digital aliases. My captures of their panicked chaos were cataloged for posterity. IP logs chronicle Marcus's failed calls. Audio transcripts record Elise's cries of outrage. Video frames preserve Claire's trembling fingers. Late that evening, with the city's street lamps casting long shadows across my workstation, I allowed myself a breath, the first in 72 hours that felt like air rather than adrenaline. I reached into the drawer and pulled out the same Mont Blanc I'd used to finalize every signature at Grandview Terrace. A subtle emblem of permanence. I uncapped it, and, in the blank margins of the final divorce decree, now indistinguishable from any other, I penned a single note. Game over. I sealed the envelope, labeled it for return to Elise via overnight courier, and shut down every terminal. As the monitors went dark, I felt, for the first time in years, a sense of calm resolve. These people, once my family, had gambled with my loyalty and lost. In orchestrating their ruin, I'd reclaimed more than assets. I'd reclaimed agency over the life they thought they controlled. Tomorrow, I would vanish again, slipping through safe rooms and clandestine routes. But tonight, I allowed myself a private satisfaction. In the silence, the city's distant hum was a fitting applause, a reminder that even the quietest exit can echo the loudest victory. Part 3. Rain pattered against the tinted window of my safe house loft as the city stirred below. I sipped black coffee, eyes fixed on the 3 screens before me. News alerts scrolled like a ticker tape. Marcus Hadley, former vice president, suspended amid investigation. Claire Hadley, emergency disbarment hearing scheduled. Miles Hawthorne's offices, federal agents execute search warrant. All within 48 hours, just as planned. On my left monitor, Claire's firm issued a terse statement. Effective immediately, Ms. Hadley is placed on leave pending review by the Bar Association. I watched her image freeze frame. Tailored navy suit, posture rigid but eyes wide with shock. Next, the network camera feed captured Marcus emerging from the headquarters of Summit Enterprises, shoulders slumped, badge clipped to his belt rescinded, his ID card handed back with a hushed apology. And on the right screen, live footage from a downtown high-rise, frosted glass doors smashed open by agents in crisp suits, paper files and computer towers loaded onto carts, Miles's empire collapsing behind him. Across town, Elise's phone erupted. 43 missed calls. Creditors, legal counsel, Bar Association clerks, SEC investigators, all demanding answers. She stumbled through her marble-floored foyer, phone pressed to her ear, panic tinging her voice. No, I don't know where John is. The accounts are frozen. Everything. Her words choked off as she read the notice posted on her front door, a red and black letterhead declaring a 3-month overdue mortgage on the family estate, a lien of staggering proportions. 20 years of payments erased in an instant. That evening, the Hadley family assembled in Elise's pristine living room. Silver-trimmed lamps cast long shadows across polished oak floors. Marcus paced near the French windows, phone pressed to his ear in a futile attempt to explain his way out. Claire perched on the edge of a velvet love seat, phone illuminated with unread emails from the bar's disciplinary tribunal. Miles hovered by the kitchen pass-through, suit jacket unbuttoned, hands shaking as he clutched a folder stamped, confidential, SEC inquiry. This is John's doing, Claire insisted, voice echoing off the high ceiling. She ran a hand through her perfectly coiffed bob. He's been planning this for years. Elise shook her head, arms folded. That's absurd. John's not ruthless enough. Then explained the timing. Marcus shot back, voice cracking. Why now? How did he move funds faster than we can react? He glared at Miles. You're supposed to be his ally. Miles swallowed. I tried to negotiate, but it was too late. Their quarrel died on the threshold bell's chime. A courier in a charcoal uniform handed Elise a plain white envelope, addressed in familiar looping script. Her hands trembled as she broke the seal. Inside lay a single sheet of cream stationery, embossed with a small chestnut watermark, and beneath it, for lines in my meticulous hand. Anticipating your moves is the heart of the game. You've been playing quality checkers against grandmaster tactics. The next move is yours. Tucked beneath the note was a Polaroid, edges curling slightly. Elise and Miles in an embrace 20 years ago, captured on the night of our silver anniversary. The date June 17, 2005 scrawled on the margin. Elise's gasp echoed through the room. Claire's face blanched. Marcus dropped his phone. The next morning, desperation drove Elise to one man who might still hold answers, my younger brother, Lucas Randall. He diverged from my corporate path, building a construction firm with government and defense contracts after our joint years in Army intelligence. When Elise arrived, rainwater pooled on the gray carpet of his modest office overlooking the shipyards. Framed commendations from our military days lined the walls, alongside a faded photograph of us in fatigues. Lucas rose from behind a pine desk, imposing in a plaid shirt and work-worn jeans. At 62, the same direct gaze and square jaw commanded respect. His voice, when he spoke, was measured. Elise, he said, nodding curtly. It's been a while. She sank into the guest chair, cloak dripping water onto the floor. Our world is collapsing, she began, voice trembling. John's gone. Accounts are home. Everything's gone. Claire, Marcus, Miles, they're ruined in hours. I don't know what to do. Lucas studied her, expression unreadable. You're worried about John? He asked, tone flat. Elise blinked. Of course. What if something happened to him? He leaned back, arms folded. You know why I stopped talking to him? She shook her head, fear softening her features. 15 years ago, Lucas continued, voice low, I discovered your affair with Miles. John came to me, devastated. I told him to divorce you on the spot. But he refused, convinced you'd choose him again. So I stepped back, couldn't watch him be played like a pawn. Elise's eyes filled. You let him stay? You let him suffer? He nodded slowly. He knew. He watched. He waited. And he planned. He tapped the desk, where a sealed envelope lay, the same night watermarked through the parchment. This was his final gambit. Elise picked it up with shaking fingers. Inside, more photographs, legal documents pre-signed, property titles transferred, corporate filings altered, every thread of her old life unraveled. And at the bottom, a single line in John's neat script. Endgame. Lucas rose, stretching creaky joints. He's out there, he said, voice heavy with respect. And he's won. As Elise left, clutching the envelopes, Lucas gazed out at the gray harbor. He whispered, almost to himself, he always said the board tells the story. In the stillness that followed, I watched their despair from afar. Every move executed, every ally turned against them. And yet, the game continued. Because in chess, the greatest victory lies not in the final capture, but in the unbroken resolve of the player who sees every possibility and then makes the unexpected move. Part 4. The late afternoon light slanted through the Venetian blinds of Lucas Randall's office, painting horizontal stripes across the polished pine desk. I leaned back against the cool glass wall, watching Elise tuck a stray strand of silver blonde hair behind her ear. At 61, she still carried herself with effortless poise, but today, her shoulders sagged with the weight of the truth she'd just learned. Lucas rose, adjusting the cuffs of his plaid shirt. His square jaw was set, ice cold. You never knew who you married, he said, voice steady as a metronome. John wasn't just your banker. Before he ever stepped foot in an office, we served together in Army intelligence, covert operations no one speaks of. He was the strategist, always planning 20 years ahead while the rest of us scrambled for the next hour. Elise's breath caught. All this time, I thought he was just John Randall. He was John Randall, Lucas replied, but also the architect of every contingency you could imagine. He gestured toward the door. This conversation is over. With that, he left her alone in the hushed room, the realization settling like a stone in her stomach. She'd never truly known her husband. Across town, financial ruin closed in on Miles Hawthorne. Once a silver-tongued advisor faded at charity galas, he returned to his penthouse expecting the usual trappings of success. Instead, he found the door ajar and his living room eerily still. I sat in the leather armchair by the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city skyline shimmering behind me. How did you get in here? Miles gasped, eyes wild as he clutched the armrest. I inclined my head. The same way I accessed your accounts, emails, and offshore holdings in the Caymans, through shell companies you never noticed I'd infiltrated. My tone was smooth, unhurried. You should have chosen a better password than Elise's birthdate. He lunged for his phone, but I was already at his side. One quick move, and he toppled onto the settee. Sit, I commanded. His leg bounced as he tried to steady himself. I'm not here to break bones. That would be too simple. I pressed my palms against my knees, leaning in. Every penny you siphoned from clients over 20 years has been locked. I used forged notarizations and backdated trusts to reroute your accounts, all set to deliver to the SEC if I don't reset a timer every 24 hours. I let the words hang like a guillotine's blade. Your destruction is on a dead man's switch. Miles's voice was a rasp. You're bluffing. I produced a small recorder from my pocket and pressed play. Their voices filled the room, Miles and Elise plotting to drain my pension accounts post-divorce. He flinched, hand trembling on the sofa's arm. I've recorded every conversation, every transaction, every betrayal since 2005, I said. What do you want from me? He closed his eyes, defeat crumpling his face. Mercy. I stood, slipping the recorder away. Not mercy, I said softly. Just this, the satisfaction of watching you destroy yourself. I paused at the door. Betrayal isn't something I forgive. Then I walked out, leaving him to contemplate the wreckage. In the days that followed, my predictions unfolded precisely. Miles, unable to bear the shame, attempted suicide, found unconscious by his neighbor, a note confessing his role in the scheme and implicating Elise in financial misconduct. Marcus, confronted with evidence of embezzlement I'd sent to his employer, tried to board a flight out of the country, only to find his passport flagged by authorities. Claire, permanently disbarred by affidavits I'd quietly filed with every relevant bar association, watched her legal career evaporate as background checks surfaced damning evidence. On the 31st day after my farewell toast, I orchestrated one final move. Invitations arrived at Elise's doorstep, Marcus's gated villa, and Claire's downtown loft, each seal embossed with a discreet chestnut motif. They believed these summonses were for a settlement negotiation at an upscale conference hall, but the true board was already set. Part 5. The morning sun spilled through the towering windows of the Regent Worthington's grand ballroom, casting golden flecks across the polished mahogany podium. By noon, Elise, Claire, and Marcus would stride through the revolving doors, expecting a discreet settlement to salvage their crumbling empire. Instead, they'd walk into a meticulously staged ambush, the final move in a game they never understood they were playing. Elise arrived first, her silk gloves clutching an envelope she believed held terms for a quiet resolution. Her sapphire eyes, once sharp with calculation, darted nervously as a swarm of reporters surged forward, camera shutters snapping like a storm of locusts. Behind them, agents from the SEC, FBI, and IRS stood like sentinels, their faces impassive. Private security, hired under my encrypted directives, sealed the exits with a soft click. Claire followed, her tailored blazer crisp, but her posture betraying a flicker of dread. Marcus trailed last, his broad shoulders hunched, eyes scanning for an escape that didn't exist. As they settled into the front row, a crystal bell chimed, and the projector hummed to life. The screen lit up with a cascade of evidence. Grainy Polaroids of Elise and Miles Hawthorne locked in an embrace on June 17, 2005, our silver anniversary, captured by a discreet lens I'd hired. Next, scanned documents. Claire's forged trial exhibits, her signature trembling on falsified depositions, Marcus slipping cash-stuffed envelopes under office doors, timestamped by hidden cameras. Bank records followed, detailing millions funneled into Cayman shell companies I'd traced through backdated trusts and forged notarizations. Audio clips played, Claire silencing a whistleblower with a veiled threat, Marcus laughing over illicit withdrawals, Elise instructing Miles to siphon my pension at midnight. The room fell silent, save for the relentless click of shutters. Claire's face drained of color, her legal poise shattered. Marcus's jaw clenched, sweat beading on his brow. Elise's fingers pressed to her lips, stifling a gasp as my recorded voice filled the space, calm and unyielding. On the night of my retirement, you handed me divorce papers and mocked my life's work. Claire said, 40 years wasted, old man. I signed your forms, knowing they were the last thing I'd ever give you. For 20 years, since your betrayal in 2005, I've cataloged every move, every whispered plan, every hidden account, waiting for this moment. The screen shifted to a timeline. Day 1. Joint accounts frozen through automated transfers I'd programmed via offshore proxies. Day 3. SEC audits triggered by anonymous tips, backed by my forensic audits. Day 10. Claire's disbarment filings, seeded with redacted emails I'd routed through 7 international notes. Day 15. Emergency injunctions blocked by my pre-signed waivers. Day 30. Invitations to this very room, each embossed with a chess knight. Security agents moved in. Marcus was escorted to a side exit marked U.S. Marshals, his wrists already cuffed. Claire stood frozen as Bar Association investigators flanked her, presenting a disbarment notice. Elise reached for the dangling microphone, her voice a broken whisper, but an IRS agent's hand on her shoulder silenced her. Indictments were served, each page stamped with the weight of their ruin. I never appeared. The final slide showed a private villa on Bali's southern coast, turquoise waves lapping white sand, palm fronds swaying under a molten sunset. Beneath it, my handwriting, 6 months on, paradise awaits. Checkmate. The projector dimmed, leaving them in the wreckage of their ambition. Reporters swarmed, shouting questions as agents finalized their paperwork. Half a year later, I stood on the open-air terrace of Villa Kupu Kupu, the ocean's rhythm a soft counterpoint to the headline scrolling on my tablet. Elise Randall indicted on fraud and embezzlement charges. Marcus Randall sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. Claire Randall permanently disbarred, facing civil suits. Miles Hawthorne turned state's evidence. My burner phone buzzed, Lucas's name on the screen. Sentencing's next week, he said, voice crackling over the secure VoIP. You coming back? I sipped a lemongrass-infused drink, the horizon ablaze with crimson and gold. No, I replied. They've taken enough of my life. Lucas chuckled, low and approving. Regrets? I inhaled the salty breeze, feeling the weight of 20 years lift. Only that I waited so long to see their true colors. I ended the call and tapped the command to dismantle the last monitoring scripts tracking their downfall. The tide rolled in, erasing my footprints on the sand, just as I'd erased their hold on my world. The game was over. Checkmate. With a final glance at the horizon, I folded my tablet into its case and walked along the shore. The waves whispered of freedom, each step a testament to a life reclaimed, not through vengeance, but through the quiet power of a Grandmaster's endgame. The end.